today let's start with chapter number 7, Old Manuscripts and Documents. So in this chapter, we will study about time frame and major developments in medieval period. So the history of any country starts from the time when its written records are available. जब तक written records available नहीं थे तब तक हमारी history का हमें कुछ पता नहीं चलता. So क्या हुआ, written records available हुए और हमने history को 3 major period, ancient, medieval और modern में divide किया. Each of these periods cover many centuries and the length of period may differ. The word medieval means middle age. So in India जो medieval age है उसको हम consider करते हैं time period that lies between ancient and modern period. There are some solid reasons for fixing the medieval period between these centuries, and it is difficult to say as to when the ancient period ended and modern period started. कब ancient period शुरू हुआ और कब modern period end हुआ. So a number of smaller big princely kingdom came up and they fought themselves. ठीक है, उन्होंने लड़ाई करी for the power and supremacy. And the medieval period has been further divided into two parts. Early period from 8th to 12th century and the later from 13th century to 18th century. So earlier period covers the states of North as well as South India. Later medieval period, it's covered Delhi Sultanate and जो आपका Mughal Empire है North में. It also included Bahmani and Vijayanagar kingdoms. Right? This period witnessed the rise and fall of many dynasties, जैसे Palas, Pratihas, Rashtrakutas, Cholas, Turks, Afghans, and finally Mughals. So major developments in the medieval period are the development of Rajput kingdoms, who came to prominence, जो prominence में है, and the period following the death of Harsha came to be known as Rajput period, and this was an era of chivalry, feudalism, and warfare. So, but they wasted their energy and resources in fighting for this weakness, and they failed to present united in front at times of danger, and they were defeated at the hands of Muhammad Ghori. उनका slave कौन था? Qutbuddin Aibak, and laid the foundation of the Sultanate in Delhi in the part of 13th century CE. So the Sultan of this period were Ghiyasuddin Balban, Alauddin Khilji, Muhammad bin Tughlaq, and what they did, they gave up the strong vast empire. And Sultan Ibrahim Lodi, he could not defend the country when Babur descended the Timur and invaded India. और इंडिया में कब इन्वेड कर 1526 में. And Babur laid the foundation of the Mughal rule in India. और जो बाबर का ग्रेट सन था अकबर, he was unified a large area and gave a strong government. उन्होंने क्या था, strong government को gave up of the country. And अकबर को realize हुआ that if the empire was to attain stability, it must root it in a native soil that should seek support from the local ruling groups. So these are some tribes that you find. Bhils हमें मिलती है, Cheros, ठीक है, different Gonds. These are the different types that we find at the time of medieval. So Jahangir, who succeeded Akbar, was a pleasure-loving man of refined taste. Shahjahan and his son ascended the throne next, and he was patron of art and architecture. His successor Aurangzeb was a brave general and able administration, but there were many virtues were eclipsed by the religious dogmatism. So what happened? जो successor था औरंगाबाद का, वो बहुत weak था, ठीक है, बहुत weak था और incapable था, वो अपनी पोजीशन को होल्ड नहीं कर सकता, मतलब बहुत incapable था. So in Western India, Shivaji forged the Maratha into efficient military machine and gave them sense of national identity. और उसको कैसे identity? National identity, right? So what are the historical trends? So in medieval period, if we talk about, we have some distinguished characteristics from ancient period history of India. The medieval period is closer than the ancient period. जो medieval period है वो थोड़े ancient जो period है उसके थोड़ा closer है, पास. And various archaeological and literary sources are available of medieval period. So what they provide us correct information कि उस time पे क्या मतलब चीजें available थी क्या नहीं. In medieval period there was an increased interaction between North and South India. During medieval times, India interacted with other countries like West Asia, Central Asia, Europe. इनके साथ क्या करा इन्होंने? ट्रेड करा और कॉन्क्वेस्ट भी हुआ, रिलीजन कॉन्क्वेस्ट हुआ, राइट. सो मेनी ऑफ द सोशल कस्टम, बिलीव्स और जो ट्रेडिशन थे जिनका ओरिजिन हुआ मेडिवल पीरियड से, वो देखने को मिलते हैं. भक्ति एंड सूफी सेंट गेव अ ब्रॉड आउटलुक फॉर द फंडामेंटल प्रिंसिपल ऑफ हिंदुइज्म एंड इस्लाम, जिससे क्या हुआ, ग्रेट स्पिरिट ऑफ म्यूचुअल हार्मनी एंड टॉलरेंस. Most of the languages, especially Urdu and Hindu, developed during this period. Dresses we wear and the food we eat. इससे क्या होता है? Clear impact पड़ता है. So we can say that the dresses we wear and the food we eat bear a clear impact. The position of women in the society worsen. और जो position थी women की society में वो बहुत ज़्यादा worst होती जा रही है. Now we have sources of information. If we talk about historical sources, so historical sources are classified into two broad categories, literary and archaeological. So the literary sources of medieval period we have divided into two, indigenous or writing by Indians and the foreign account. Apart from this, we have coins, inscription, architecture, manuscripts, which were important source of information of this period, which stretches from 700 AD to 1750. But one problem of the manuscript was that since they were copied by hand, so changes in word sentence were brought in the series. By who copied these manuscript, and the new word sentence changed the meaning of the original manuscript. So archaeological sources, if we talk about, so archaeological sources that are available to us include employed palaces, mosques, fort, tombs, coins, inscription, utensils, tools, weapons, ornaments, and painting. And what they did, they gives us the idea of the political, social, economic history, and many rulers, particularly जो South India वाले थे, what they did, they encouraged to design and build temples, and temples जो थे वो rich source of religious and cultural history. Painting are the another valuable source, as they tells us about the custom, food habits, dresses, and jewelry. Coins gives us dates of important political events. Book of coins, जिसका नाम था दराया परीक्षा, means an examination of coins. It was written during the reign of Alauddin Khilji. और यहाँ पे आपको जितने भी coins mint हुए during this time, उसके आपको list available. Now inscription from South Indian record proclamation of king and gifted to temples and learned men, and some are inscribed on temples. कुछ आपको कहाँ inscribed होते हैं temples को. Literary sources, so states papers and official or private documents जो written होते हैं Persian. What they provide much information about what? Reconstructing the history of this period, and most have been lost. Those find in private collection throw much light on the administration, economy, and society of India. Now Chronicles. Chronicles have provided ample information with regard to history of medieval India. Minaz or Siraz, मतलब Tabat-e-Nisari, it gives useful information regarding slave dynasty of Delhi up to the year 1267. So Jalaluddin Barani Tarke Firuz Sahai gives history of first 6 years of Firoz Shah Tughlaq. कि जो फिरोज शाह तुगलक था, जिसका डिजाइन ऑफ हिस्ट्री लोग ये दे. जो फिरोज शाह है, his own composition फुतहत ही फिरोज शाही gives records of जो एडमिनिस्ट्रेटिव अचीवमेंट्स आपको देखने को मिलेंगे वो कहाँ मिलेंगे? फुतूहात फिरोज शाह में. ठीक है, इस्लामी फुतू उस इस्लाम डील्स विद द पीरियड. सो वी कैन से जो आपकी इस्लामी फुतू शाह सल्तीन है वो किससे डील करता है? पीरियड ऑफ एक्सटेंडिंग फ्रॉम जब गंजावीज क्या होते हैं राइज होना स्टार्ट हुए थे. गजनवीज जो थे. बाबर फेमस मेमोरी, तुर्की गिव्स इंपॉर्टेंट इंफॉर्मेशन अबाउट द नेचुरल इवेजन ऑफ द कंट्री. सो जो मेमोइड्स हैं आपके जहांगीर के, वो एक्सीलेंट सोर्स ऑफ हिस्ट्री है. गुलबदीन बेगम हुमायूं गिव्स हिज इनसाइट्स इनटू अफेयर्स ऑफ रॉयल हैरम. देन वी हैव अब्दुल फैजाल एन अकबरी अकबरनामा. ये तो के इंपॉर्टेंट वर्क्स है जो किससे डील करते हैं? आपके रिगेन ऑफ अकबर. अनदर इम्पॉर्टेंट जो है वो आपकी बदौनीस की मुंतका उल त्वारिक, और दो ऑफिशियल क्रॉनिकल्स भी हैं जैसे पदीशाह नामा एंड आलमगिरी नामा, जो आपके रीजन है शाहजहां और अर्लियर ईयर ऑफ औरंगजेब उसको बताएं. So the defects of Persian chronicles are lack of objectivity and lack of interest. वही जो common people में interest नहीं था और lack of objectivity मतलब bias था किसके towards royalty की तरफ. Now foreign traveler, many foreign travelers they visited India at that time. Travelers from abroad give them the interesting information. किसके रिगार्डिंग? पॉलिटिकल, सोशल और इकोनॉमिक कंडीशन. ठीक है, अलबरूनी आए थे, उन्होंने ड्यूरिंग सुल्तान मोहम्मद गजनी कॉन्क्वेस्ट उन्होंने बुक लिखी थी किताबुल हिंद. इट वाज द फाइनेस्ट फॉरेन अकाउंट्स ऑफ मेडिवल इंडिया. फिर आए मार्को पोलो जो आपके साउथ इंडिया आए थे इन 13th सेंचुरी, और ये आपको इंफॉर्मेशन देते हैं. द बेस्ट नोन फॉरेनर हु विजिटेड इंडिया ड्यूरिंग दिस प्री मुगल period were Moroccan, Ibn Battuta, Italian, Nicola Conti, and visited Vijayanagar. So what happened after that? We talk about there were some European who came to India and left mine of information for us, and the work of jurists, missionaries and European travelers like Barbosa, Ralph Fitz, Rowe, Tavernier, Bernier, Manuki, they describe the condition of the people, the state of trade and commerce, and magnificence of the court at Camp. Now coins, it gives us dates of important political events. A book of coins जिनका नाम है दराया परीक्षा, मतलब an examination of. Now coins gives us useful information regarding the state of polity and economy during the Sultanate and the Mughal period. जो coins थे मोहम्मद बिन तुगलक के, it has revealed much about this regime and his kingdom. The coins of provincial ruler, like we have those of Bengal, for instance, with the dates and mint mask, especially valuable as resource information, not fully dealt with the journal chronicle. ये journal chronicle के साथ deal नहीं करते. Epigraphic sources, inscription are of great use of the pre-Mughal rather than Mughal period. So what happened? The resigns of the Bengal Sultan, Samuddin Firuz, Alauddin Firuz and Nizam Shahi king. What happened, especially from 14th to 16th century, has been understood slowly on the basis of epigraphic sources. In many an instance, the full title of king and queens and the history of minor dynasty revealed by studying inscription, the inscription that revealed Indian medieval history, throw a light on political aspects as well as social one. So we can say that historian and their source, जो historian है वो किस पे depend करते हैं? On all types of sources for the study of medieval period. They are still rely on tools, coins, inscription, architecture, right? किस पे? Coins पे, inscription पे, architecture पे, textual records. But the number and the variety of textual record increased. धीरे धीरे क्या हुआ during this period? जो जितने भी archaeological sources थे, जितने भी textual records थे, क्या हुए? Increase होने लगे. Though this period, paper gradually become cheaper and more widely available. Some people use it to write chronicles of rulers, letters, petitions, judicial records, accounts. And we can say that chronicle is a series of historical events written in the order of the sense and holy text of paper. Then we have collection and study of manuscripts. So the manuscripts were collected by the wealthy people, rulers, monastery and temple. There were no printing. ठीक है, किसी भी टाइप की कोई printing नहीं थी. These copies were and rarely original manuscripts and documents were placed in libraries. जो documents थे उनको कहाँ रखा जाता था? Libraries में, हर चीज़ में. हर चीज़ वो place होती थी जहाँ पे manuscripts और documents आपके रखे जाते. Now the historian gets lot detailed information from the old manuscript document, but errors crept in while copying. जब भाई copying कर रहे थे तो वहाँ पे कुछ errors दिखाई दिए. So we can say that as a result, small but significant changes occur. Centuries of repeated copying developed into great differences, and we can say that version is a copy of book or document that has been changed so that it is slightly different. उसको हम change करते हैं so that it can be slightly different. The historian try to reconstruct the past. भाई जो भी clues उन्हें provided हुए हैं, क्या मिले हैं, चाहे वो textual हो, चाहे archaeological हो, historian क्या करना चाहते हैं? Past को reconstruct करना चाहते हैं. Now making of maps. As the travelers and explorer begin to write the accounts of journey, the knowledge about various places of the world increase. Some of them, with the help of geographer, what they did, they made maps of different lands and regions. And they believe to combine the whole world. वो क्या चाहते थे? पूरे वर्ल्ड को combine करना चाहते थे. An Arab geographer Al-Abrisi made detailed map, and in 1154 he marked place names Arabic. In 1720 what happened? एक फ्रांस cartographer थे, the person who makes map, इन्होंने क्या करा? Indian subcontinent का map publish करा. Atlas, no view of Dublin. This map details the coastal area, and when historians read the text document as maps from the past, they consider the context or reference. Different historical backgrounds, places and events in which information about the past was produced. इसमें जो information है उसको किसके past की information दी गई. Now new and old terminology. Present day India together with other countries of Indian subcontinent, Pakistan, Nepal, Bhutan and Bangladesh, they have been referred to as Jambu Dweep, the land of Jambu tree in ancient Buddhist text. It was called Bharatvarsh. इसको हम क्या कहते हैं? भारतवर्ष भी कहते हैं. After the tribe, around 150 BC, the land between the Himalayan and the western regions were named as Aryabhatta. means land of Aryans. The Persian used the term Sindhu, which they pronunciated as Hindu, and they called Sindhu plus Sathana, the land across the Sindhu river, as Hindustan. The river Sindhu was called as Indus or Indos. So the Greek called the land Inde, the Arabs called it Hind, and it was much later when the British named the word. From our description, we can see that different names emerge from different grammar and meaning, context of different area. Take the term Hinduism. In 13th century, Minhaj-e-Siraz, एक chronicle थी who wrote in Persian meant the areas of Punjab. वो आपके कौन से एरिया थे? पंजाब के, हरियाणा थे, और जो आपका गंगा और यमुना के बीच का लैंड, राइट? He used the term for the part of subcontinent under the rule of Delhi Sultanate, but the term never included South India. लेकिन इसमें जो word है वो South India included नहीं था. In 14th century, poet Amir Khusro used the word Hind, and so in 14th century, poet थे Amir Khusro, so he used the word Hind in the early 16th century. So, though an idea of geographical and cultural entity like India exists, the term Hindustan was not used in the political and national meaning of today. Similarly, Indian subcontinent also does not mean today India, the modern nation state. Rather, it means South Asia continent. So, many other historical terms also meant different things in the past. The word foreigner in the medieval period was any stranger who came to village or town. So what happened? We have next calligraphy. So many of the handwritten manuscript in the medieval period was stylishly written and beautifully decorated. The kind of decorative writing is called calligraphy. इसे हम क्या कहते हैं? Calligraphy कहते हैं. Then we have archives. Apart from literary sources, government documents are archives in the form of royal decree or firmans issued by the ruler. Treaties or agreements between different kings, chronicles of court, records of revenue. They all are the sources of history. So they gives us the information about the administrative policy. उस टाइम पे जो administrative policies थी वो कैसी थी, वो इसकी information देता. Right? Next is time and historical period. So we can say that the study of time is made somewhat easier by dividing the past into large time segments, जिनको हम periods कहते हैं. So most historians took to economic, right? Many historic looks to economic, social and cultural characters, major elements of different monuments. It is not, so we can say that it is not proper to divide history on the basis of religions like Hindu, Muslim and British. You have read a wide range of early society. So hunter gatherers जो थे वो आपके early farmers थे. People living in town and villages and early kingdoms and empires, they are in earlier class. Now we can say that the entire medieval period is not a one historical unit. After all, the later century period were quite different from the earlier century. We have early medieval and later medieval period. हमने इसको दो पार्ट्स में डिवाइड करा है, अर्ली मेडिवल और लेटर मेडिवल. जो अर्ली मेडिवल पीरियड था वो आपका 18th सेंचुरी टू 13th सेंचुरी था. लेटर मेडिवल पीरियड 13th सेंचुरी टू 8th सेंचुरी, राइट? बट द डेवलपमेंट्स वर द नॉट सेम. भाई जो डेवलपमेंट थे वो सेम नहीं थे. So the historical development need to be studied separately over each century also and different religion. Now new social and political group. The medieval period was a period of economic, political and social and cultural changes. Traders and invaders came into the subcontinent. जो traders थे, invaders थे, वो subcontinent में आते थे. Persian wheel in irrigation, spinning wheel in weaving, firearms is combat in new technology. न्यू फूड्स एंड बेवरेजेस अराइव. उस टाइम को आपको नए फूड्स, नए बेवरेजेस देखने को मिलेंगे. लाइक व्हाट? पोटैटोज, कॉर्न्स, चिलीज, टी एंड कॉफी. द सबकॉन्टिनेंट ऑलरेडी हैड इमेंस वेल्थ एंड पॉसिबल फॉर द पीपल टू फाइंड द फॉर्च्यून. सो व्हाट हैपेंड? सो द ग्रुप ट्रैवल्ड लॉन्ग डिस्टेंसेस. वन ग्रुप हु बिकम एन इम्पॉर्टेंट इन द मेडिवल पीरियड वर राजपूत. राजपूत जो थे वो बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट हुए. And they were known for great courage and bravery and great sense of loyalty. The term became famous for the Kshatriya caste status. What happened though they served as soldiers and commanders and rulers of chieftains? They were settled in certain region of Rajasthan, Gujarat, Bundelkhand, Delhi. They were Chandelas of Bundelkhand, Chauhans of Delhi and Ajmer, Solankis of Gujarat, Sisodias of Mewar. Other groups of people such as Marathas, Sikh, Jats, Ahom, they were used the opportunity of this period to be politically important. Now clearing forest of the faster extension of agriculture forced them many forest dwellers to migrate. What happened? They started tilling and become peasant. They were new peasant group that gradually influenced by the market, safety and price. So we can say old and new peasant group formed a large complex society. Some possessed more land, other were also kept as cattle, and some combined agriculture activity. Right, so we can say now people were grouped and ranked into subcaste or jatis on the basis of their background and occupation. Region and empire, later states like those of Cholas, Tughlaqs or Mughals, they covered many regions, and by 700, many regions already possessed distinct geographical dimension. So we can say they were also associated with specific ruling dynasty, like we have Cholas, Khilji, Tughlaq, Mughal. They were able to build an empire that was pen relation. Kaisa na pen relation extending in diverse region. Not only these empires were equally stable. For example, the rule of Khilji dynasty, it lasted for only 30 years, while that of Mughal dynasty lasted for more than 300 years. After the decline of Mughal empire, the regional states re-emerged, but year of imperial rule left the region with many distinct and stated traditions. Right, poet Amir Khusro noted that there was a different language in every region of the subcontinent. Only Sanskrit was the language that did not belong to any region. Sanskrit ऐसी language थी जो किसी भी region को belong नहीं करती. Now old and new religion. So over the thousands of years medieval period, the religion, tradition and beliefs altered or lost as their social work altered. So people believe that in the divine was sometimes deeply. In Hinduism, important changes as a worship of new deities, construction of royal temples by royal people. Beside Brahmins, the priests grew as dominant group and their position became dominant by the support of patrons. So new rulers searching for prestige, right? The religion of Islam too flourished in subcontinent, and it was interrupted by its followers in the variety of ways. Now we have completed this chapter. Hope you understood. Let's meet in the next class. That's all for today. Thank you.